When a man loses respect, love does not fade slowly. It does not wither like a flower, drying under the summer sun. It does not erode gently, like stones softened by the sea. It vanishes, in an instant, like a candle in the wind. Why? Because love, without respect, is no longer love. It becomes need. It becomes possession. It becomes something smaller than what it once was. You see, there is something sacred in the way we look at each other. Something unspoken. A kind of silent reverence. Respect is not just politeness. It is not the bow, the gesture, the word. It is the soul's recognition that another soul stands before it. And when that recognition is broken, when a man betrays it, or forgets it, or loses it in the storm of his own weakness, what once was love collapses, not with anger, not always with tears, but with silence. The silence of a woman who no longer looks at him the same way. The silence of her eyes, once filled with light, now clouded with distance. There is no drama here, no shouting, no long explanations, only the absence of what once lived. Love cannot live where respect has died. This is not a punishment. It is not revenge. It is simply truth. Like a fire without air, like a river without water. Respect is the breath that keeps love alive. And yet, most men do not notice the moment it is lost. They think love can survive anything. They think presence is enough. They think memory will hold it together. But love is not memory. It is not weight. It is not chains. It is presence. Living, breathing, fragile presence. And when respect vanishes, presence vanishes with it. I have seen men grow old without realizing why the eyes beside them went dim. I have seen women grow quiet, not because they lost desire, but because they lost reverence. It is not betrayal that kills love. It is not distance. It is not even time. It is the loss of respect. A man who cannot be seen with respect cannot be loved. This is not cruel. This is not unfair. It is simply the way of the soul. The soul does not pretend. It cannot be fooled. It does not bargain. The soul either recognizes dignity in another, or it turns away. When a man loses respect, he loses something that no words can bring back. No apology, no gesture, no promise can replace it. Because respect is not given by words. It is earned in silence. It is sustained in silence. And once gone, it leaves a silence so heavy that even love itself cannot breathe inside it. That is why love dies instantly. Not gradually, not painfully, simply inevitably. Like the moment a star collapses into darkness. Like the instant a bird stops singing at dawn. The absence is sudden. The truth is clear. And nothing will make it what it once was. When respect is gone, it is not only love that dies. Something else dies with it. Something more hidden. Something older. The memory of what was once sacred. The trust that silence could hold two people together. The innocence of believing that the bond was unshakable. And yet, life does not stop. The days keep moving. The seasons still turn. People smile, speak, eat, and sleep. But somewhere in the depth of the soul, a shadow lingers. A knowing that cannot be erased. A truth that cannot be softened. You see, respect is not simply admiration. It is not praise. It is not the words we say when we are kind. Respect is weight. It is gravity. It is the invisible ground on which love stands. Without it, love is weightless. It drifts, fragile, unanchored. And in a moment, only a moment, it is gone. The older I become, the more I see how fragile this ground is, how quickly it can be shaken, how easily a careless act, a single betrayal of dignity, can collapse what seemed eternal. It does not take much, not always violence, not always cruelty, sometimes only neglect, sometimes only forgetting to see. A woman, year after year, waiting to be acknowledged out a man, year after year, blind to her gaze, until one day, he notices, and by then, it is too late. Because love cannot survive where the soul has ceased to bow. It is a quiet death.no funeral.no ceremony.no announcement. Only the stillness in her eyes, only the silence in her voice. This is how love dies. Not with thunder, but with absence. And when a man grows old, he will remember that he may not remember the arguments, the words, the noise, but he will remember the silence. The way she stopped looking at him with light. The way her presence became distance. And in that memory, something sharp will pierce him. Not anger, not even regret, but the sorrow of knowing it was respect that was lost. And without it, nothing could stay. This is not punishment. This is not vengeance.It is simply truth. The soul cannot love what it does not respect. And so, love collapses instantly. Like night falling when the sun dips below the horizon.no argument.no delay. Only darkness. We do not speak of this often. It frightens us. It reminds us of how fragile we are. How much of what we cling to depends not on grand gestures, but on something invisible. A gaze. A silence. A kind of inner bowing. When that bowing ceases, so does love. And yet, within this truth, there is also freedom. Because it reminds us that love is not sustained by effort alone. Not by duty. Not by habit. But by the soul's recognition of another soul. And if that recognition is gone, it is better to grieve than to pretend. Better to sit in silence than to live in illusion. When respect is lost, love dies instantly. But life does not end there. There is always something after. The silence after the thunder. The stillness after the collapse. It is in this silence that forgiveness waits. Not as a demand. Not as an act of will. But as a slow unfolding of the soul. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is not excusing.It is not pretending that the wound was never made. It is simply allowing the wound to stop defining us. There is a loneliness that follows the loss of love. It is sharp at first, a hollow in the chest, an emptiness that no sound can fill. But if you sit with it long enough, it begins to change. It is no longer absence. It becomes a space, a clearing, an opening into which the self can return. We are afraid of this solitude. We rush to escape it. We cling to distractions, to new faces, to noise. But solitude has its own wisdom. It is not punishment. It is not exile. It is the place where we begin again. When a man loses respect, and love slips away, it is not only the bond with another that is broken. It is also the bond with himself. For what he has lost in her eyes, he must now find again in his own. To forgive is not always to return. Sometimes forgiveness is the release that allows distance to remain. Sometimes forgiveness is the quiet acceptance that what has died will not live again. And yet, in that release, there is a strange tenderness. The tenderness of no longer carrying the weight of anger. The tenderness of breathing freely again. We age, and with age comes a softening, not weakness, not surrender, but a gentle recognition that much of what we fought to hold was never ours to keep. Respect, once lost, rarely returns. But the self can return. Through solitude, through silence, through the long work of remembering who we are. And so, forgiveness is not for the other. It is for the soul itself. A way of opening the hand, releasing what can no longer be held. A way of saying, yes, this too has passed. Yes, I remain. For love may die in an instant, but the soul endures. And in that endurance, there is always a path home.